Our next speaker is live. Lien, my colleague here at Concordia University, has a diverse and productive 30-year career. It's included owning a department store, director of recruiting at a major executive search company, providing marketing, business strategy consulting, and corporate training for businesses and nonprofits ranging from startups, emerging growth to Fortune 500s. He's been a leading educator in adult cohort-based models for 25 years at several regional universities. And he's currently gracing us with his talent here as chair of the MBA program and associate dean at Concordia University here in St. Paul. His talk is titled, Successful Marketing Begins with Clarity of Purpose, Why You Matter.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Lynn, for that introduction. I think I'm going to be able to build off Corey and Bob, and I hope that's what I'm able to do, but from a little different perspective, maybe from blowing it back up to 35,000 feet, when I think both of those messages were just so critically important. From somebody who works with adults. Let's share a little bit more about my background. I kind of think I do this stuff until by the time to get out of the lake, right? Since we're all friends. I want you to think about this for a minute. It's early 1990s. Barnes & Noble has just acquired B. Dalton Books. It had about 900 stores across America. You might, if you're old enough to remember those. The book publishing industry was up in arms. There was legislation being proposed. The FTC was involved to break up this monopoly that was occurring. Well, interestingly enough, in that very garage in Bellevue, Washington, Jeff Bezos and his wife and a partner sold that book, Fluid Concepts and Creative Analogies, in June of 1995. 22 years later, I don't have to take time, it won't take time to tell you the history of Amazon, but they, as measured by market cap, what Wall Street looks as a market value, they're the fourth largest company in the United States. By the time 5 years, in fact, after I didn't make this point, it's kind of interesting. Within 5 years after that first sale, the market cap was equal to 300 companies, 9 times the size of Barnes & Noble. So I have a few minutes I want to share with you what I hope is an important idea for us in our times. You see, Jeff could have driven downtown Bellevue, found a little spot in the corner, and opened up his bookstore and competed within that red ocean of other bookstores in that geographical area. Instead, he saw this new vista, this new blue ocean, and created something in this paradigm shift that is extraordinary. I want you all to appreciate that we sometimes don't quite take time to think of the context we live in. And how rarefied times we've been given, that God has blessed us to live now. And while it's full of anxiety, it's also one of these times that Peter Drucker said happens only every few hundred years. When the whole elements of our society, our institutions are reconceived. If you have gray hair like mine, you know that we've never seen anything like this. The strife, the political arguments and debates, as all of these institutions look to reformulate, reconceive themselves for a whole new era. And so what we teach foundationally in our program is that, look, commerce, economic activity, including school systems, are moving faster than our structure can keep up. That's why so many of us are working harder, it seems like, harder with less and less. It also means the quality of us, the quality of our students, the quality of the students that Corey and you are producing need to be very adaptive. So much different in terms of what we're teaching. So, what matters, and what I do as a living, is to help people and organizations think through what is the real value I bring. Now, we've been blessed as Christians, as Bob pointed out, and I, as a mentor to my MBA students, can talk about Christ. I can educate the whole human being. But in the end, it's the value. They're spending $30,000 to get an MBA. I need to be able to use my values to drive that value. Value is simply the perception of what I receive to what I'm laying out. And we want to begin to think that way because when I tell students, look, the world's not against you, it's worse than that, it's indifferent. It's the value you bring me is why I'm going to hire you. That's what I learned as a headhunter. That's all what it is. So, why Lien mentioned in the introduction, what I want to try to do is give us to look at things in this unfolding. And I want you to really think about for a minute, why do you matter? Why does what you do matter? Why does your school matter? If you close the doors tomorrow, who would care? I would care. You know, they're tough questions. Questions we don't really want to ask. But they get us thinking about, we don't fall into the complacency of what we knew in educating a generation that will live very differently. You know, 2/3 of the students walking in here are freshmen will have jobs in industries that don't work, that do not exist today. I can pretty well share with Bob that the 100 students that he has, 95% of them will. And by the way, 3D printing, by the time your hair is gray like mine, will be viewed as the greatest humanity game changer and as significant as the Gutenberg printing press was in the harbinger of the industrial age. That's how significant, and I wish we had time to go on to these great opportunities that humanity has. But you know, if you start your school tomorrow, would it look just like it does today? And I don't mean physically rebuilding it. But if we went into that classroom with fresh eyes, without the baggage sometimes of the old that we carry, and we all resist change, let's not deny it, would we build it just like it looks today? I've asked that question when I go in and consult with Fortune 500 companies. And yes, you can't obviously start everything over. But if you remove the baggage of what limits us and see things through this fresh eyes. A couple of questions that I hope that you think about for yourself and maybe your own institution is, what do we want stakeholders to say about us 5 years from now? We do a lot of what we call reverse engineering. If I know that you want to do this for a life, a career, a job, what do we need to do to prepare us for that? I love that question because it makes us think about what do we want to become? And are there blue oceans for you? For you personally? For your classroom? For your school? Sometimes the damage we do between our ears with what we tell ourselves is create the greatest limitations. And God gave us all the ability to creatively think. We just don't allow ourselves to do so. And times demand it. I just can't tell you how times demand it. Creativity part that's lost is a dangerous thing for me because we're already seeing it with the younger generations. They're very risk averse. If we're going to compete in the 21st century, they got to be non-risk averse. We all live in this urgency of the moment. And it saps us and robs us sometimes from thinking about where we're going in our own lives, where we're going in the lives with what we're trying to create in our classroom with our students and our institutions. So, I'm going to explain in detail. Let me do this. One of the books I suggest that you take from this, I've got it back, is The Blue Ocean Strategy. I think it's just a must-read for all of us in this time. And one of the points of it is where we look at that 4 actions framework is that it helps us think through some things creatively. It leads to our own blue ocean. Are there things that you do that add little value that we could just simply eliminate? It adds no value to the student, but we've just done this for so long, and we just ask ourselves that. You're flying to Omaha. Do you really care about that bag of peanuts? Does that add value to your life and the flight? Well, they spend millions of dollars a year doing that. I don't think so. Could it be eliminated? Yeah. Are there things that you could reduce? Activities you do that could be time spent perhaps doing something else. We all have limitations in time and resources. So what's the opportunity cost if we're doing this? And can we pare it back? And we have ways of reducing. One of the concepts we teach that I wish we taught in all schools, and I wish we gave it to you, is we have a tendency to beat ourselves up so much, and each other so much. But we all do miracles every day, and we know it. We all do extraordinary things in that classroom. Appreciative inquiry, where you ask yourself, as your colleagues, what is it we really do well? What can we do more of? We started a whole mentoring program in our MBA program based off of our own appreciative inquiry that we're doing work at. The faculty is really some real career add-on, value adds to students. We're the only program in the country doing it. We're one of the verified programs in the United States that's growing it in an MBA program. We raised what we do well. We let everybody know what we do well. And if you really allow yourself to think, without the shackles and constraints of our daily actions, sometimes the institutions that may feel like they hold us back, and the blue oceans that you can think through. Once you do, and this is where here's another great resource we use in our marketing class I would suggest you take a look at too, Made to Stick. Why I love it so much is because think of all the literally millions of messages you are bombarded with every year. Everybody trying to position themselves in your head, what they want you to think about them. And we get lost in that clutter. So what Made to Stick do, once we know what the value we bring, the value we add, we start looking at ways in which we can make that message simple, that is concrete. And there's various ones that you may choose to use. We like to use it. I like to evoke emotion. And I love telling stories. Because I let our students and their success as graduates sell the program. I don't have to. So make sure if what you take from our conversation, great time today is really allow yourself to really think about your own value. Value you bring to that classroom. How you are a benefit to all of your stakeholders. And speak in great clarity to yourself about why you do really matter. I didn't share enough of it. I'd love you to memorize this quote of the late, great Walt Disney. Facts are negotiable, perception is not. So I could bring in reams of data that says global warming exists, reams of data that says global warming does not exist. Well, does it or doesn't it? I don't know. That's the facts. The fact of the matter is when 78% of the adult population believes global warming exists, guess what? It exists because everything we do extends from that belief. So the power of perception is ultimately what we need to be mindful of. Not what we think we are selling, but what people think they are buying. And I know that can be kind of a dirty word for us in education because we don't like to talk like that. We shouldn't. But we should be thinking about it in terms of, again, the value. Okay? This is the blood lotion strategy. I'd suggest that you really do take a look at it. It'd be wonderful for you personally, and also your organizations going forward. I give you Made to Stick to it if you're interested. Thank you. I'll be around too a little bit later if you want to have some other conversation. But thank you for the opportunity to share some thoughts this morning.